Welcome back to Sports for Real. I'm your host, Coach Hall, and you can see my voice getting a little better, but this thing's been hanging around just a little bit too long. Still in the spirit of talking about playoffs, talked about Jackson State, and we want to see them in the playoffs. We really need to see a good team like that in the playoffs, but tonight I want to talk about what's going on in high school football. This is round 2 of the Florida playoffs, as well as Georgia, and with all the great athletes they have in Florida and all the good football games that you may see, the system that runs the systems in Florida, the FHSAA, they don't run a class operation anymore. And when you start talking about real football and how they put things together, I want to show you how Georgia does it in comparison to Florida. Not saying that Georgia is the best, but when it comes to comparing them with Florida, there's no comparison in my mind. So just take a look at this chart I put together, this board. This is a comparison about how Florida runs things and how Georgia does things. So if you can see this. In Florida, the system is 16 districts. You have 4 regions with 4 district champions per region. 32 teams overall. And you're going to have the district champions being the top 4 seeds and then the next 4. That's determined by points. And the problem is, and I'll talk about that in a second, the playoffs begin intra-regional. Whereas you start talking about Georgia, it's completely different. They don't have districts, they have what they call regions. 4 teams from each region make the playoffs, so there's 32 teams. The seeds are determined by head-to-head, and it is inter-regional. What do I mean by inter-regional? Well, when you play a region in Georgia, the 4 different seeds, they go in opposite directions. They don't get put in the same bracket. So if you were to play somebody from your region, it's going to be deep into the playoffs, like the semifinals or the finals. As opposed to Florida, it's completely different. You got the 4 district champions here, and the next 4 seeds, well, the first round could have been the same team you played last week or 2 weeks ago. Let's just suppose that you have one of the best teams in the state, and the next best team in the state just happened to be in your district. Well, if you're one, you don't want to see that team again because you just squeaked by. If you should see them again, it should be like they have over here in Georgia. But no, you might see that team a week or 2 later. And I think that's what the problem is. Florida coaches, they complain about the systems that they have and they don't want to travel too far. Well, my opinion, I think Georgia has it right. If you don't win your region, you should hit the road, and I don't care how far that is. Now, another thing that's different about Florida and Georgia is Florida plays strictly north and south. So the first 8 districts are going to be the north region, and the last 8 are going to be the south. So when you get to the finals, it's going to be north versus south. Well, Georgia doesn't do that. This year it might be region 1 versus 2, or you may start off playing region 1-4. So if I'm in, say, Camden County, I may end up on the north side of Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs if I don't win my region. And some team up around White County up in North Georgia can be down here playing, say, Charlton County or something like that. It doesn't matter. If you don't win your region, you deserve to hit the road. So, again, not saying that Georgia is the best, but when it comes to comparing them with Florida, there's no even comparison here. If you don't win your region, you should hit the road, and you should have nothing to say about it. But here, they take too much into account about traveling and all of that, and listening to the whining coaches about what they don't want to do, what they didn't perform on the field. And like in Georgia, they should hit the road. What do you think? Send me a comment. This is Sports for Real, and enjoy a great night of high school football.